Prime Field.
Welcome to Prime Field. 21 points, 7 steals, 21 minutes on the court. Those are the raw numbers from a season opener that changed the conversation. MiLaysia Fulwiley, new to LSU after 2 seasons at South Carolina, entered against Houston Christian as a reserve. She left the same night as the central question for this team. Is this a spark or the beginning of something more consequential? This documentary examines that question. It traces a single performance and asks what it implies for personnel, strategy, and the championship calculus for the 2025-26 LSU Tigers. The issue is straightforward. Can a player who has excelled as a high-impact reserve become an integral engine in a lineup already led by all SC starters Flau'jae Johnson and Mikaylah Williams? The answer matters to a program with national aspirations. Fulwiley's stat line is precise. 21 points on 8 for 14 shooting, 7 steals, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, 21 minutes of action off the bench. Those figures are the immediate evidence of impact. They also frame the contradiction. A player who has typically come off the bench produced starter-level results in limited minutes. In the first half, Fulwiley's defense catalyzed a decisive run. Her steals were not isolated highlights. They triggered a 10-0 LSU surge that closed the half, during which the Tigers forced 5 turnovers in the final 2 minutes. Coming out of halftime, she scored LSU's first 6 points of the third quarter on consecutive 3-point plays, asserting control when the game required it. This performance was efficient and concentrated. In 21 minutes, she led all scorers. Her contributions altered momentum, scoring distribution, and defensive intensity. The debut is the immediate event. Its implications extend beyond a single box score. That leads to a closer look at the numbers in history. Context changes how statistics read. Fulwiley's 21 points nearly double her career average of 11.8 points per game across 77 games at South Carolina. Her 8 for 14 shooting line equates to a 57.1% field goal efficiency in limited minutes. The 7 steals shattered her personal best and contributed to LSU's 23 steals in the game, a total that ranks among the program's top single-game defensive outputs. Historically, she arrives with credentials. She's the 2025 second 6th Woman of the Year and a former SEC Tournament MVP. At South Carolina, she started only 3 of 77 games, yet earned national recognition including AP All-America Honorable Mention and a finalist on for the Dawn Staley Award. Those honors indicate consistent high-level production even when she was not a regular starter. Projecting the debut across a full game exaggerates and simplifies, but the per 40-minute projection in the brief is stark, roughly 13.3 steals and 3.8 blocks per 40 minutes. Those rates are mathematical extrapolations, not predictions. Still, they underscore the disruptive defensive identity that has followed her across levels of play, and they frame the tactical possibilities for LSU. Coach Kim Mulkey's post-game choice of words was deliberate. She rejected the label spark plug. Instead, she described Fulwiley in terms that imply long-term substantial contribution. Mulkey referenced her own experience at Louisiana Tech, a player who rose from a bench role to become an end engine for championship-level teams, and she appears to see a comparable developmental arc for Fulwiley. Mulkey's in-game coaching also signaled expectations. She corrected a questionable shot and instructed Fulwiley to understand circumstances in the game, a public example of the discipline the coaching staff plans to apply. That interaction reflects 2 simultaneous truths from the brief. Fulwiley is an instinctive, high-usage playmaker, and the staff intends to shape that instinct into a more controlled, high-IQ leadership role. If Mulkey is calibrating raw talent into reliable production, the program's goal is clear. The aim is not to bottle the player's explosiveness. It is to direct it. The next question is how that direction interfaces with LSU's established stars. Fulwiley's debut did not occur in a vacuum. Flau'jae Johnson and Mikaylah Williams are returning first-team preseason All-SEC players. Last season, Johnson averaged 18.6 points per game. Williams averaged 17.2. In the opener, the trio combined for 47 points. Fulwiley 21, Williams 14, Johnson 12. Together, they presented a multifaceted scoring attack. The bench outscored the starters 59-49 in that game. Depth has practical consequences. It allows starters to manage minutes without collapsing offensive production. More importantly, Fulwiley's defensive disruptions produce transition opportunities, fast break possessions, and unsettled defenses that favor athletic slashers like Johnson and Williams. Opponents face a new chess problem. They cannot simply load help on Johnson or Williams without creating openings elsewhere. The brief describes Fulwiley as a potential chaos agent. That term is tactical, not rhetorical. Her role can create spacing and matchup dilemmas. It forces opponents to make choices they did not previously have to make. This chapter closes with a tactical question. How will minutes and roles be distributed to sustain that advantage? The debate over starting minutes is public. Mulkey has presented a competition between Fulwiley and returning sophomore Jada Richard. Yet the narrative in the brief reframes the issue. Starting status is secondary to leverage. Fulwiley's most transferable strength is defensive disruption. She also demonstrated high-efficiency scoring from multiple levels, threes, mid-range finishes, and drives that produced and won opportunities. Her projected function is flexible. She can serve as an off-guard who initiates offense in bursts. She can close games as a trusted high-usage option. She can remain a reserve and produce starter-equivalent impact in shorter stints. The consistent element is her ability to change game flow. The coaching staff's decision-making will determine whether that influence is concentrated through a starting assignment or dispersed through high-value minutes. Past precedent matters. At South Carolina, Fulwiley produced at a high level without starting. She was recognized as one of the nation's top guards, while serving as a reserve. That history complicates binary expectations about roles and reinforces the coaching staff's apparent willingness to keep minutes fluid. Defensive impact is the clearest, most immediate projection from the debut. The brief cites a high school season with 5.7 steals per game and a freshman year at South Carolina with 1.7 steals per game. The 7 steals in the LSU opener validated that trend at a higher level. Defense alters opponent behavior. Turnover generation creates points in transition and shortens shot clocks. It also imposes strategic constraints on opponents' offensive sets. Fulwiley's presence creates those constraints. Her best role, according to the brief's evidence, is as a disruptive force who converts defense into offense for the Tigers. That identity is quantifiable and repeatable. The program's task is to sustain it, while balancing the need for disciplined decision-making in half-court situations. Mulkey's coaching interventions are aimed precisely at that balance. This chapter ties the performance to the team's broader championship trajectory. The brief's central thesis is that Fulwiley's addition forces a reevaluation of LSU's ceiling. A third high-usage, high-efficiency guard reduces the reliance on a two-player axis. It creates matchup problems and augments depth. Those are structural advantages in a tournament environment where adjustments and rotations define outcomes. The evidence is provisional. One game provides a strong signal but not a season-long guarantee. Yet the combination of historical production, accolades, and an immediate high-impact debut supports a plausible upward revision of expectations. The key variables remain role clarity, minutes allocation, and the player's development under a coaching staff intent on converting instinct into consistent decision-making. The brief does not present a frictionless projection. Multiple constraints remain. Fulwiley's historical role has been that of a reserve. Transitioning to a primary, minute-heavy role requires adaptation. Coach Mulkey's corrections after questionable shots signal areas for growth. The team must also manage rotation chemistry, substitution patterns, and the potential for role overlap with other primary scorers. Those are practical, resolvable issues. They are not reasons to discount the debut. Rather, they are the natural trade-offs of integrating a high-impact player into an already accomplished lineup. The documentary treats these constraints as operational challenges, measurable, coachable, and central to a season-long evaluation. Fulwiley's debut is a statement. It was a concentrated demonstration of scoring efficiency and defensive disruption. It compelled public framing from a head coach who invoked the language of long-term contribution rather than temporary energy. The immediate legacy is tactical, an additional versatile weapon that creates matchup problems and depth. The deeper implication is programmatic, a potential shift in LSU's identity from an elite conference contender to a team whose composition and depth invite national championship discussion. History will judge this performance by what follows. If Fulwiley sustains a pattern of high-impact minutes and disciplined decision-making, the 21.7 steal debut will be remembered as the first chapter in a transformative season. If the performance stands alone, it will remain an extraordinary game in a larger narrative. Either way, the debut altered expectations. It reframed the central question for the 2025-26 Tigers. Not whether MiLaysia Fulwiley can produce, but how the staff and roster will utilize a player who, in a single night, compelled a reassessment of what this team could become.
Prime Field